assistance with that. He's he's written a letter in support of our application for a grant on the dam. Many of you were probably here for that meeting, but he's doing a good job for us. The Duke Energy power enhancements in February, there was a public meeting that was here that was about Duke Energy, and it was discussing improvements that they could possibly make so we didn't have as many power outages. And thanks to Pat Beatty for working with the town staff to host that meeting. We believe that the forum that we had and the town's continuing dialogue with Duke Energy has made a good impact, because Duke has announced that they're going to start work on Highway 9, making some of their, replacing some of those lines with bigger wire and making the poles taller, which should help keep us from losing power as often. And let's see, there'll be work zones. The one lane of traffic may be stopped from time to time on Highway 9, but it won't be too bad. So just remember that and pay attention to the flaggers when you see them. The lane closures will be minimal from what we're told right now. There was also a rumor about Duke rate increases, and we've received some questions about that, but we've been told by Duke that we are not having a rate increase, that our rates are the same as, or very much in line with Spindale, Durham, Charlotte, and Greensboro, and that we'll not be seeing a rate increase. We'll give a special thanks to the Lake Lure Olympiad Committee for a very successful 15th year of sports events. Had a really good weekend. I know I helped with the parking from 5:30 to 8, where we put cars over on the driving range. And this year, it's never gotten close to filling up before, but this year it was full. We had to put the last 3 cars down in the church parking lot. So it was a good turnout, and I'll be anxious to see how much money they raised. The upcoming events, Dirty Dancing Festival is September 13th to the 14th. The Lake Lure Arts and Crafts Festival, sponsored by the Hickory Nut Gorge Outreach, is October 19th to 20th. August 26th, Paul's for Rutherford County, the 3rd annual Pet Fest, will be here from 10 to 2 p.m. And on November 9th, the annual Lake Lure Artist Show and Sale, sponsored by the Lake Lure Artists. And on November 11th, a Veterans Day program at Rumlin Ball Resort. And on December 7th, a Lighting Up the Lake at the Lake Lure Flowering Bridge. They're planning to light up the gorge this year, so please stay tuned for more information on that in the upcoming months. Okay, town manager report.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner Moore. Just, I would say that over the past month, the items that have dominated our discussions and decisions and meetings, the list basically includes the dam, sewer system, the strategic communications plan that David Diorio, Kurt Wright, our town engineer, and Laura Creegee have been working on. Certainly the grants we've been applying for, Wi-Fi, Commercial Center, Welcome Center, Innovation, and then employee performance review. We haven't had a formal review here town-wide in approximately 10 years. So we are bringing that back to bear on operations, and Amy Wright, our new Human Resource Coordinator, is overseeing that. And so we will have evaluations completed in the month of September. And then also, one other item that myself and David, his department, have been working on with Jay Johnston, who's an engineer with Withers and Ravenel, is an interconnect between two town water systems that are operated independent of one another. And so David may want to share with us just a little bit about that in a minute. But I wanted staff just to brief you on some of these items, beginning with the dam and sewer and maybe the interconnect. David, if you could just give us a little update on those.
I'll be brief. I won't take long. Far as what's going on with the dam right now, Snobble has came forth with a proposal which is on hold right now. That contract has not been signed. Laura has filed for some grants to try to help pay for some of that. That may be reimbursable through the grant. So that contract is still on hold until we can find out from the grant agency. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon, if we're approved. If we are, that could be a big deal for the town. We had also asked on the hydroelectric end if any of the repairs there could be considered in the grant. They came back and told us that anything we'd done there would not be considered part of it. So we went ahead and executed the contract with Clifton Corporation to start back moving forward on the little generator. So I expect in the next 30 days, things start cooling off just a little bit in there, they're gonna go in and start back on that little unit. And it's just terrible hot in there right now. It's over 100 degrees with that big generator running. We're gonna get some big fans, cool it down and stuff as best we can, but, other than that, on the sewer end, the big topic, we've talked with the state a little bit concerning the valve that we talked about earlier, putting in the sewer line and stuff like that. And, other than that, that's about it.
Interconnect, David, any extra words on that?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. We just, as it is now, we have, Lake Lure has a system past the beach house back toward number 9. And then they have a system on this side of town, a water system separate, and then they have a separate water system in Firefly Cove. It's 3 different permitted systems that we're testing, sampling all the time. If this interconnect was made between the Lake Lure end and the Firefly Cove end, that could eliminate some testing and stuff like that. That could make the town's whole system more whole, because you would be putting more wells on this system. You would be picking up a reservoir for this end of the town. So it makes the whole system complete at the end of the day. If we don't do something, you're gonna get to the point that some systems are gonna be limited to where you can't go any further. If something happened, between the interconnect and us and our neighboring town, we don't have a reservoir. That could work things out to where you have a complete system. So at the end of the day, that's something that we really strongly need to consider looking at and putting those 2 systems together and making them one. That just makes it a whole lot better for everybody. And I mean, by doing this, you'd have the possibility of adding as many as a couple hundred more homes onto the system once it's interconnected as well.
Good.
So if I might, one quick question. On that grant, when do we expect an answer on it?
They said mid-September, is that correct, Shannon?
They did, and that's where we are. Laura has a little bit of news for us when she's going to talk
okay.
about that.
Okay, great.
Not the best of news, but yeah, that was the date.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Dave.
On the strategic communications plan that I mentioned a moment ago, the infrastructure that, or the pamphlet that basically talks about the 5 major projects that we've been working on for some time that Mayor Cooley helped us create. We realized that one of the items missing is how to strategically communicate this to the right folks in the right way at the right time. And so the committee I mentioned earlier has been working on this. And so I think Laura is going to brief us on the strategic communications plan, and then the grant that we have recently filed. She's going to update us on that. So I'll let her give us the news.
Great. Good evening. So first, just to mention the strategic communication plan that Shannon has referenced, a special thanks to Dave Diorio and to Kurt Wright, who have been working with Shannon and myself in developing this plan. it really helps focus on how we as a community can work with national and state organizations to help support the work that we need to do to preserve Lake Lure. And as Shannon mentioned, the focus of these priorities is really on renovating and repairing our dam, working on the low-pressure sewer system, working to develop a strategy to support the Chimney Rock State Park egress that is being planned, working to make sure that we have a coordinated plan with NCDOT with regard to the bridge over the dam, and then, of course, dredging, which is critical to our sustaining our lake in the future. So this is the emphasis of this document, and we have worked with some local legislators to help us identify key stakeholders. Of course, our community, our chamber, and then our state and national legislators that can help us identify opportunities to receive grants or other support for this work that we're doing. So the focus is very positive. It's all about building on the history and the innovation that was utilized when Lake Lure was first developed, and what we can do as a community to work with our state and national organizations to help preserve this beautiful community for future generations. So we hope to present this to you, our town council, within the coming weeks so that we can get your input, because we know you'll have some great ideas to enhance this document as well. Any questions about that? So moving on, I almost wish I could have stayed in a blissful state of awaiting some good news about our dam, but I received a call right before this meeting with someone who said they had good news and bad news. And I always like to hear the bad news first, so I'll share that with you first. The call was from the state, and we were in this grant, a sub-applicant with the state to the National Department of High Hazard Dams. So we had to apply with the state. Unfortunately, the state has not completed their risk and mitigation plan. So no one in the state of North Carolina could actually go forward with their application at the national level because the state had not completed this risk and mitigation plan for high hazard dams. So I said, well, what could possibly be the good news? And the good news is that there will be another opportunity with this grant. There will be additional funds in this category of high hazard dams. And he said, all of your work will not go to waste. You'll be going forward once the state completes their risk and mitigation plan. So there'll be another opportunity for this to go forward. However, we know that the work that we're doing has to continue. So we'll have to regroup and identify a strategy to be able to move forward with those plans. The focus of this grant was for design, planning, and engineering with regard to the dam renovation. So, any questions?
Well, with that, I assume you knew this already.
Just a few minutes ago.
Yeah. So has any thought been given, and I'm sure there will be, on what that does to our timeline and where it puts us? Because if I remember correctly, this next phase is the one that involves the hoist and the head gate and the
That's right.
penstock and
That's
all,
right.
which affects our revenue generation
That's right.
capabilities. So,
That's right. So we possibly could pull that in
all right.
now that we've received this news. So we'll be coming back to you in September with some additional information, and we may be able to pull this in just a little bit and get moving on
Did
that.
the state give us an idea when they'd get their part finished?
He did not, but I asked him to please send me the information in writing. I did think it was very positive that they personally called to give us the information, and so I was appreciative of that, but I asked him to give it to us in writing, so I can certainly inquire about the timeline
next go around.
So the
Thank
good news is Laura's work on this grant is preserved, and as soon as the state does what they need to do, we can move forward with it whenever that comes about. So,
Right.
Okay.
Laura,
Thank
thank you
you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate the hard work.
One final, is that our only method of applying for this particular grant? Do we have to do it in conjunction with the state? Is there a way we could do it without the state?
I defer to Laura, but my guess is no, this is in conjunction with the state. We're
It's
co-applicants.
my understanding
Right.
that unfortunately, we tried to initially go online and then we're told that we had to apply as a sub-applicant within the state and the Dam Safety Office,
All right,
DEQ.
thank you.
Thank you.
Great work on your part, by the way.
Thank you, Laura. Next couple of items, ask Brad to give us an update on, that's Wi-Fi and then the Commercial Center, Welcome Center renovations. Mr. Burton.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Good evening, Mr. Manager. Excuse me. Great news, moving forward really quickly on the Wi-Fi. We have the RFPs back and finally got some time with our town attorney last week. Sat down and went through those, and right now I am almost complete analyzing the nuts and bolts of those, of the couple RFP applications, and be ready to present a report to Utilities Advisory Board very soon. I'm hoping at their next meeting. So that's the news on that. The Commercial Center, Welcome Center, bid packets were due on Thursday of this week. Due to some conversation I've had with folks that have been bidding and speaking with me, it seems that there is a little bit of information lacking in some of the bid documents that were put out. And so in the interest of keeping the thing alive, I basically put an email out this afternoon that said, we're going to toll this matter just for a couple of weeks, give us a chance to sit down with our design professionals. I've got a pretty good laundry list of things that the bidders are looking for that are evidently not in those packets. So we're going to tighten that up and get this thing back out and get it back online pretty quick. So that's within the next couple of weeks. And that's where we are.
Thank you, Brad.
Uh-huh.
That's all I have, Commissioner Moore.
Okay. Bob, you want to give us your liaison report?
Sure. The Utilities Board met last Tuesday, came in first to have a meeting with Heritage Water Systems. They did a presentation, John Wilson. They brought in another option on our pumps as far as more engineering knowledge, and one of the gentlemen was quite knowledgeable on these pressure systems. So we had a good question and answer period with them, and just brought out another level of questioning for this low-pressure system that Utilities Board will be reviewing, and it's helping them narrow down to make the recommendation to council on which pump packages they'd like to see put out for bid. The second item was the update with Russ Pitts on Pangea and where they were on their broadband. And I think it was good to put out the RFP because it did kind of get them off a dead center, which he admitted, it said it kind of helped them get on the move and start working on our system for us. And basically, that's the two items that were discussed for that meeting.
Okay, thank you. John?
I'll start. ABC Board met end of July. Everything's good there. I think I mentioned last month we have a new manager in training there. So that's hopefully going to be completed soon. Woody Price, I've mentioned, has been the manager for years, and he's wanting to be relieved of those duties. So that's all progressing well at the ABC store. As far as the Lake Advisory Board, our previous meeting, you heard a lot about what Lake Advisory has been working on. So a lot of stuff has gone into that. I will mention to you that we had a gentleman there who's been not a regular visitor, but a pretty regular visitor. As you know, we have a new rowing club here. If you've seen over behind the ABC store where they're storing their, I guess you call them boats over there, and so they are looking for ways to help generate interest in the shoulder season here. he talked to the board about, having a rowing regatta here. That's kind of a season thing for them, and it ends sometime, maybe in, October, in early November, their regular season. So he's hoping to put together a ho row regatta. It may have to be a gobble regatta with what we just talked about tonight, but they're working on that. They're looking for ways to get people into town in the shoulder season. I'm sure everybody's gonna be thrilled with this news. We've had 2 sightings of power boards on the lake now, stand-up paddle boards that are motorized. We've had a lot of research that has gone into that. I don't see Gary House of Fuss is here, and he and Bill Ashman have done a lot of research and everything on that nationwide, what the deal is with that, and pretty much is the opinion now, after the research they've done and discussion by the Lake Advisory, that it's not something that we want to consider being allowed on Lake Lure, and the Lake Advisory will be making a recommendation to the Marine Commission to, our laws, our guidelines now are almost there to say that they're not allowed. We may have to make a little bit of wording change and stuff, but we'll be getting that back. They are now have them that will go from 6 miles an hour to 38 miles an hour on a stand-up paddleboard. So, needless to say, that idea needs to go away. The jet ski, as far as I'm concerned, and so Lake Advisory will be bringing that proposal to the Marine Commission for next month, and that's all I have, sir.
Okay, the zoning and planning board did not have any business to come for it this month, so it did not meet. Stephen, what do you got?
The Board of Adjustment will meet on the 27th, I believe it is. It's the last Tuesday of the month. Did not meet in July. The Parks and Recreation Board met August the 1st. A couple of the highlights, Conserving Carolina volunteers gave us 79 hours at Weed Patch Mountain. And helping out there. The golf course, or the golf club, had an all-time high record of 884 rounds of golf in July, which is phenomenal for what Dale's doing out there. There's also a disc golf tournament, which has a tentative date set for November the 10th. I've never heard of disc golf, but I guess it's coming around. Mo Bay mentioned that Conserving Carolina's annual conservation celebration in Mill Spring will be held on September 21st at Catlin Farms. And we will be getting a new AmeriCorps representative. Her name is Kayla Johnson, and she'll begin training in August, and then she will be the new liaison with the town. Traditionally, we have said that the Flowering Bridge receives approximately 50,000 visitors a year. We installed a counter out there, and it was only active for 206 days in 2018, and it registered 172,963 counts. Now, we have to subtract from that with volunteers that'll be going back and forth working on the bridge, and of course, most people park at one end, walk the bridge, and come back later. So there's a lot of dual counts. Even if you divided that number in half, you're still talking well over the 50,000 a year. But it had an average for those 206 days, an average of 817 visitors per day, or counts per day. So a great job for the Flowering Bridge. And there's also the if I recall, we have the Our State magazine, the annual attendance by them for the Flowering Bridge and also the AAA tour group for the Flowering Bridge this year. So we do get, that bridge definitely gets great national recognition. So that's all I've got.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Stephen. It doesn't look like anybody signed up for public comments. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share with us, with the council? Now's the time. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Made by Bob, is there a second?
I second, but brief discussion on item A. There were a couple of minor corrections to the minutes, nothing that changed context or anything, it's just some administrative corrections.
Okay.
I already discussed them with Michelle.
Okay, so that's the second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, new business, Bears, number
Yes.
one.
I wanted to bring this up because I've been approached by several people in the community. And what I'd like to ask council to,
Forgot one.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's part of the consent, my bad.
Okay, all right.
Go
okay.
ahead.
Anyway, I'd like just for our council and our town staff and our manager to try to get with wildlife and let's see what the possibilities are of maybe relocating some of these bears. The reason being is that the populations are not being hunted like they used to be. So you're ending up with an extra number of bears everywhere. They're prospering, they're doing quite well, which unfortunately, we're living in the same area they are. We moved into their land. But what I'd like to do is see if we get wildlife to possibly relocate some of these bears, because you only have two options. You either relocate them or you take them out. So rather than a big hunting season, I'd even like to see a meeting with wildlife, with all of us to see what we can do to help it. I mean, that's the only two options we got, but the population's just seeing a lot of cubs, a lot of activity, they're getting into a lot of trash cans and people home. We're gonna have to address it. Let's start
Okay.
now and see if there's any answers out there.
Okay.
For years here, if you don't realize, there was a bear hunting club here up on Bills Creek and quite active. And they harvested 12 to 16 bears a year in that hunting club. And that hunting club's not been operating now for, I'm not sure how many years, but for several years.
They're operating, they're just not hunting here.
They're right, they're not hunting here. So as a result, we have what we have. Lakewood Adventure Company, Mark Helms told me that one of his operators last week headed up the channel up this way, one of the houses over there was a mother and 4 cubs. So, you know, it's a problem, and they just don't go away, you know, especially when they get comfortable, so.
Yeah, I agree, we need to look into it, and maybe, Shannon, maybe we could have a meeting with the wildlife folks. I know that my dog treed one in my yard. It just ran him right up the tree, yeah.
We had one down at the dam.
Yeah.
That was interested in being a generator operator. David saw him, took a picture.
Went on the golf course last Wednesday.
I think Brad wanted to comment on this.
Yeah.
At my house on Garden Lane, there was a mama and 2 very, very small cubs right at the
Yeah.
end of Garden Lane.
Yeah, one other thing, the hunters used to run them a lot, even when they ran them in the off-season,
Right.
when they just to keep their dogs in shape, and that kept them pushed back up into the hills. It kept them out of the town area, so it'd be good if they could maybe at least do that, even if they weren't hunting during the season. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I'd like to make a plea. One of the many hats and interesting things that my department gets into is nuisance abatement. Nuisance abatement. Specifically, one of the things that we're dealing with right now, at a level that we've met, that I've not dealt with since I've been here for a long time, is trash cans being opened up by bears, raccoons, all kinds of critters. And this is, you know, and it's happening, it seems to be happening at the preponderance of folks that have vacation rentals. And so if you have a vacation rental, you're supposed to have an animal-resistant trash can, or you need to have some sort of dialogue with your renters, tell them to keep their trash indoors until the day they leave, or do something, because a lot of this could be avoided. And we're actively doing 2 notices of violation right now for folks that don't even know they're coming, but it's just their property managers can't keep up with the situation. So it's something that can be avoided if everybody just take a little extra time and educate your people that are renting that what they need to do is keep that stuff inside till the last minute at least, and have a good containment facility to put it in. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll get up with the wildlife officers, and I'll be happy to help with that.
Okay.
Okay. All right,
Thank
let's see, resolution appointing a new mayor. Got something for you, Carol. Let me see, where's our resolution? Here, take that. Okay, all right. Okay. Here we go. Now, the last act is Mayor Pro Tem here. Don't mess with me. Okay, a resolution appointing a new mayor. Whereas on November 7th, 2017, Kevin Cooley was elected as the town of Lake Lure mayor and sworn into office on December 12, 2017 for a 2-year term. And whereas Mayor Kevin Cooley passed away on May 15, 2019, and whereas NCGS 160A-63 provides that a vacancy that occurs in an elective office of a city shall be filled by appointment of the city council, but does not prescribe the method or procedure for filling vacancies. And whereas the filing period for the 2019 municipal election has expired, and Carol C. Pritchett is the only person who has filed to run for mayor of Lake Lure and will therefore be our next elected mayor. And whereas it is the desire of Town Council of Lake Lure, North Carolina, to appoint Carol C. Pritchett to serve as the new Town of Lake Lure mayor to complete Mayor Kevin Cooley's unexpired term. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the council of the town of Lake Lure appoints Carol C. Pritchett as the next mayor of the town of Lake Lure, and be it further resolved that this appointment will be effective as of August 14th, 2019, and be effective for the remaining term of the previous mayor, and will expire upon her successor being sworn in to office on November 19th municipal election. Is there a motion to,
I'll make that motion that we accept the resolution as
okay,
described.
made by Bob, seconded by Stephen. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Okay, good. Thank you. Congratulations. Carol, would you like to come up and maybe at least introduce yourself? Maybe somebody here that doesn't know you. Probably not. Yeah, yeah, because you're not married till tomorrow.
So I still got to be careful what I say. Well, thank you all for appointing me mayor. I'm excited about this. I think, what a sad thing for us that Kevin left us, and he was such an incredible presence in our community and accomplished so many things in such a short period of time. But, what he did survives his passing. And so we all profit from that for a long time from now. We remember him for a lot of things, but we certainly remember all the good things that he did. And we certainly thank John for being Mayor Pro Tem. I know he was delighted that he didn't have to do it anymore. So, I look forward to this. And I won't make this a long speech. I'm not into long speeches, but I think we're all interested in the future of Lake Lure, not looking at it for the remainder of this term or the next 2 years, but we moved up here from Texas in 2011 to have a gathering place for our children who don't live in Texas anymore and never will, And, you know, they are very glib about talking about when we're gone now, so they're looking ahead to when they own the house here in Firefly Cove. So, you know, looking at that and knowing that the things that we do now are things that are gonna survive us and that are gonna make a good and wonderful life in Lake Lure sustainable for our children and our grandchildren. So I think we're all dedicated to that, and I really look forward to our being able to work together as a council and as a community. We have a lot of big challenges for us that we all know. And I think that we have some really good plans in place. They're maybe not formalized yet, but I think for the first time really in a long time, I feel that we all have a good sense of where we are with the challenges that we have and what needs to be done. And I think that, if anything else, that's really a good first step as we sort of recognize these are the important things. These are the things that maybe can be pushed down a little bit. And I think doing that, we have a really good chance of achieving a lot of what we need to do. It's not all going to be done by January 1st, certainly, but I think it's going to be good. So I appreciate and I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Carol.
Next page, this last page.
All right.
Michelle's got it.
Well, yeah. All right, we've got, no, Michelle, do you need to swear her in tonight, or with that, you want to do that tonight? Okay, well, I'll tell you what, let's, do our, discussion of the, next Marine Commission meeting, and then Carol will swear you in right after that. Okay? Okay, all right, John, I think you are the,
Yeah, the Lake Advisory Board is working on some new permit issues and everything that we have in our town with our boat permits and the use of those and some of the categories. And we have had a subcommittee that's been working on that now for about 3 months. And we are not going to probably be ready to make the presentation to the Marine Commission at September's meeting, so they have, the Lake Advisory has asked that either we postpone September to October, or if we can, schedule to have an October meeting planned as well. And we're really, I know a lot of you've heard me talk about this, but unfortunately and sadly, the way I feel, we have people on our lake that are taking advantage of our permitting system, and we have people on our lake that are cutting corners and using boat permits on more than one boat, and just a number of different things. And it's bad that that's the way it is, but that's the way it is. And it's, you know, the problem for me with that is it takes funds directly from our town that we need to operate with. So the Lake Advisory Board is working hard on trying to get this, a new system in place to recommend to the Marine Commission to hopefully be able to put some teeth into our permitting system, where if someone's caught and they're knowingly breaking the rules, it will, the first time it'll be bad, there won't be a second time. So that's the reason for asking for that Marine Commission meeting to happen.
do we have any business that we need to attend to next month, or do we want to just put it off till October?
I don't know of anything.
I'm not aware of anything. Are you aware of anything, Shannon?
No.
Okay, so.
Do we need to continue the lake lowering discussion?
We've already,
We've decided
Well,
for
we're
this
good- we're
year,
good for
but we
this
still
year,
need
yeah.
to discuss the policy
I think we could
and
do-
long term.
we can
Probably do
that.
both at the October meeting?
Yep, that's where I'm at.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. So, you'll make a motion to that effect?
You know, I'll make a motion that we delay the Marine Commission for September, move it to October, which will be what, October,
Third Tuesday, second Tuesday, yeah.
right? And then we'll have discussion there as far as what the Lake Advisory Board brings to us, as well as further discussion on the lake lowering.
Second Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
That'll be October 8th.
Right.
Okay, all right, the second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
All right.
Okay, Carol, get you back up here, Michelle will swear you in, and, we'll give you a gavel. gavel.
I, Carol Pritchett,
I, Carol Pritchett,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain the Constitution
that I will support and maintain the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office as mayor of Lake Lure,
the duties of my office of Mayor of Lake Lure,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Okay, Bob, you have a motion you want?
Yes, I'll make the motion that we now adjourn.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Yeah, Bob had to have one.